Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to try and tackle one of the biggest, most frustrating economic puzzles of our time, the global housing crisis. For so many people, it feels like owning a home has gone from a key part of life to a completely impossible goal. We're going to dig into the numbers and see what's really going on.
So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of the matter. I want you to really think about this. Forget about mortgages and monthly payments for a second. Just think, if you saved every single penny you earned after taxes, how long would it take to buy an average home? Well, the answer, it's pretty staggering.
Just look at this. In the US, you'd need to save every single dollar you make for over 3 years. That means no rent, no food, no gas, no nothing. And that's the best case scenario on this chart. Now look at Australia and Canada. It jumps to a completely insane 8 to 9.5 years. For most people, it's not possible.
And you can see the result right here. This isn't just some abstract number. This is fundamentally changing people's lives. A milestone that our parents or grandparents might have hit in their 20s is now getting pushed so far back that it's reshaping what it even means to be an adult.
Okay, so how did we get here? To really get our heads around this, we've got to look at how the whole idea of a house has been totally transformed over the past few decades. It's a huge shift.
You know, it really wasn't that long ago. Think back to the 1960s. A typical house was actually affordable on a single, average salary. It was about 2 to 3 times what a person made in a year. Fast forward to today, that same house now costs 5, 6, even 9 times what an entire household earns. The scale has completely flipped. And here's the key reason why. Economists have a fancy term for it, the financialization of housing. But all it really means is that at some point, we stopped treating houses primarily as places to live and started treating them like stocks or gold, an asset to invest in. And once that switch flipped, the entire game changed. This number right here, this is where the rubber meets the road. A whopping 40% of the median family's income now goes just to the mortgage payment. And listen, that's before you pay for property taxes, insurance, or fixing a leaky roof. It completely blows past that old 30% rule of thumb, and it's squeezing families to the breaking point.
So you're probably thinking, okay, simple economics, right? Demand is high, so just build more houses. It seems like the most obvious solution in the world, but as you're about to see, it is nowhere near that simple.
Yeah, this is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Our population is growing, people are living in smaller households, we absolutely need more homes than ever before. So why has building actually slowed down right when we need it the most? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a death by 1,000 cuts. You've got zoning laws that make it illegal to build anything other than a single-family home. You've got developers who buy up land and just sit on it, waiting for prices to go up. And just the process of getting a permit can take years and cost a fortune. It's a whole wall of problems.
And then there's this huge factor, the NIMBY phenomenon, not in my backyard. This is a classic economic problem. See, existing homeowners, they often fight against new construction because they're worried it'll lower their property values. And for them, individually, that kind of makes sense. But when everyone does it, the collective result is a massive housing shortage that hurts the entire community.
But here's the cool part. We have proof that tackling these barriers works. Check out this case study from Auckland, New Zealand. The city basically overrode a lot of those local objections and reformed their zoning laws to allow for more building. And what happened? The rent-to-income ratio actually started to go down in Auckland, while it kept climbing everywhere else in the country. It can be done.
Okay, so we've got a massive supply problem. Now let's switch gears and look at the other side of the equation, demand. But we're not just talking about regular families anymore. We're talking about supercharged demand, fueled by the transformation of housing into a speculative asset class. Get ready for this one. 1 out of every 4 homes sold in the market today is bought by an investor, not a family looking for a place to live. So first-time homebuyers aren't just competing against another young couple anymore. No, you're up against massive Wall Street firms that own tens of thousands of homes and can walk in with a suitcase full of cash.
And this is where things get really dangerous because it creates this vicious feedback loop. It goes like this. Prices start to rise. That attracts investors and speculators. They start buying up houses, which makes the supply shortage even worse. That, of course, pushes prices up even higher, which just attracts more speculators. It just feeds on itself.
This whole loop leads to something that seems completely backwards, totally paradoxical. You have home prices exploding, hitting record highs, and at the same time, you have literally millions of homes sitting completely empty. It makes no sense, right? Well, they have a name for them. zombie houses. And it's a perfect name, isn't it? Because these homes aren't for the living. They weren't bought to be lived in or even rented out. They are just chips in a global financial casino, sitting empty while their owners wait for the price to go up. They're a physical sign of a market that's gone completely off the rails.
So you might be sitting there thinking, wow, it is bad where I live. But you have to understand, this crisis has levels. To really see how far this can go, you have to look at the global picture.
Let's go back to that price-to-income ratio. How many years of your entire salary it takes to buy a home. So, the US, as we saw, is at a really tough 3.4 years. But look at Canada, 9.5. And then you have a city like Sydney, Australia, where it's a mind-boggling 12.5 years of income.
But it's not just the price. It's about what you actually get for that insane amount of money. As you move up the crisis levels, the space you can afford shrinks dramatically. In the US, the average person has about 900 square feet of living space. By the time you get to a level 3 crisis like Beijing, where the price-to-income ratio is an unbelievable 40-to-1, that space shrinks to under 300 square feet. We're talking about the size of a one-car garage.
So, after all that kind of depressing news, we have to ask the most important question there is. Is there any hope? Can this thing actually be fixed? Well, the good news is, yes. There are plenty of ideas out there that tackle the root causes. Things like a land value tax, which makes it expensive for developers to just sit on empty land, forcing them to build. We've already seen how powerful aggressive zoning reform can be. Other big ideas include banning huge corporations from buying up single-family homes, or ending tax breaks that favor investors over actual families.
And that brings us to the final, critical question. If we have all these smart ideas, if we kind of know what might work, why aren't we doing them? What's the holdup? Why does fixing this seem so politically impossible?
And this, right here, is the fundamental problem. It's the political paradox at the heart of this entire crisis. To solve affordability for the next generation, home prices have to cool down. They have to stop rising so fast, and maybe, just maybe, they even need to fall a little. But the majority of voters are current homeowners. And for them, their house is their single biggest asset. They want their kids to be able to afford a home, but not if it means the value of their own nest egg takes a hit. And until we figure out how to solve that puzzle, the dream of owning a home might just stay that way, a dream.